first monies.
All right, people.
Mm-mm.
Studio. Studio. Okay, here we are. Gone past 7:30. This is Freshly Pressed on Smooth Breakfast with Kayode Baker.
And Triple Martins and you, Lagos. And
Yes, yes, yes.
it's about that time we brought you detailed analysis of stories making rounds in the dailies, and leading us through conversations this morning. Devoe Corey is with us this morning. Good morning, Devoe.
Good morning, Lagos. Morning, team. Cool. Where is our subsidy?
And Cheta Nwaze is in the studio with us as well. Good morning, Cheta.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm rather disappointed at this story list we have today. We don't have a Sunday Post story.
And we've got you. Make sure you send your WhatsApp messages in to 0809 444 981.
That's a major story of national concern.
And Messiah the story, but we'll talk about
Like
that later.
Kayode said, you can go up on youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos, where we are streaming live, and you can leave your comments as well. Okay,
On
so
Twitter
let's
as
get
well.
straight.
On
Oh,
Twitter
yes,
as well.
Twitter. Hashtag freshly pressed 981. We've already
Did you
tweeted
so
the.
love it, man?
What now?
Chesa, I've missed you. Okay, we've already tweeted the list of topics that we're going to be discussing through the rest of this half hour. So make sure you go over there and send your comments in. Give us your thoughts. Give us your opinions. Let's hear from you. Okay. Moving on, Premium Times newspaper. This is we talked about this at 6:15, and we're gonna talking about it in depth now. From the Premium Times, farmers behead herder igniting violence in Kaduna community. Now, the Kaduna State government has condemned the renewed killings in the boundary areas of Kauru and Zangon Kataf local government areas, as reported by security agencies in those locations. Now, in the most recent act of violence, we saw a conflict erupting in a Kaduna community when a herder was attacked and killed after an argument with some farmers over encroachment of animals, because the herder apparently was had his cattle in the bushes that were right next to a farm, and the farmers accused the herdman of encroachment, and then violence erupted. Devoe, I mean, what do you say to this? This is quite a it's a shocking headline, but then again, people in the community would say not that shocking. We've had this going on again and again.
I was about saying that, and that's how I would retitle this headline: Kaduna again. It's almost the same of the same. Same scenario, same incident of animal encroachment,
Mm.
same incident of, as the state government put it, intercommunal clash, same incident of farmer versus herder attacks. It's just the same each time. You just need to hear, okay, who was on the
Who was the
offensive,
aggressor this
yeah,
time?
and who was on the defensive. Now, in this case, some farmers did the beheading to some herders that were encroaching into their, obviously, their boundaries, and in trying to settle it, someone was beheaded, some other people were injured, and as the other herders escaped before more damage could be done, the Operation Safe Haven arrived when there was about to be a complete breakdown of law and order. Now, as always in Kaduna, we always hear of the retaliation. So if you trace, you connect the dots in Kaduna, I don't think any case is actually in isolation.
Mm.
Most times there's always a long track of what is going on within that part of the country. Now, you have sporadic deaths, injuries, and in some cases, villages are burnt down. Now, the state government had said that they've asked the Internal Security Ministry to be able to look into the matter, investigate, and get down to the bottom of it. That there has been some level of peace and calm in Kaduna for a while now, and they wouldn't allow that to be compromised. Now, my issue is I'm not sure right now if Kaduna had implemented the anti-open grazing laws. I don't know whether they're one of the states that has that option out there, because it's still the same issue of open grazing and how it has caused economic conflicts among the stakeholders involved. I don't know their position to ranching. I don't know their position because it seems as if the old traditional means of communal settling, whereby when you
Still
encroach on the
remains.
land, traditionally you now make up with maybe some cows or you pay some money to the villager. It's not working. It's
Mm.
obviously not working.
To avoid reprisal attacks, though, what do you think can be done?
I don't really think anything can be done. This is historical. So am I to make a piecemeal position at this point in time when this history of attacks between farmers and herders and villages has lasted for almost 30 years?
More than this.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, from reports, it seems as though El Rufai is not a fan of those
Anti-open
laws.
grazing, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, moving on, we've got more news for you. Do make sure you send your messages into WhatsApp 0809 444 981.
Let's move on to our next story. This one from this day newspaper. It comes to you, Cheta. President directs security agencies to use 5G tech to tackle insecurity. There's been a long talk about this, but what do you make of the story?
I don't know when a comedy show. It's telling them to use 5G tech to tackle insecurity. Like they couldn't use 4G tech to tackle insecurity. Neither could they use 3G or 2G or you understand. That's why they will use 5G tech. First things first, what are the fundamental differences between 4G and 5G? 5G is faster, it's ultra fast, it has lower latency, and improved reliability for communications. But 4G is pretty efficient. What the president seems to have forgotten is that by the time you are driving, say, from Benin to Abuja, and then once you leave the outskirts of Benin, and all the way from Iwu to Ekpoma to Auchi to Kene, before even local drive, you'll be pretty hard pressed to get 4G. Essentially, what I'm saying is that 5G will only be deployed in Nigeria, in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, maybe eventually Kano, Ibadan, Enugu, Onitsha, places that can pay for it.
Okay.
It's not going to be anywhere else. These are not the places. Yes, we have insecurity problems in all these places. So Nigeria is one big insecurity black hole. But the places where we have real issues with regards insecurity, 5G is not going to get to those places in the next 5-10 years,
Oh, wow.
if ever. So how will they use 5G to tackle the insecurity problems? We need to scope our issues very well first before we start going doing all these list kind of things.
All right, don't forget to send your messages to 0809 444 0981. And also, we're taking messages on YouTube. It's youtube.com/Smooth FM 981 Lagos.
From the Punch newspaper, Nigeria sinks deeper in corruption rating, drops to 154. Well, ICPC disagrees with this.
Of course they will.
Now, this is Nigeria's second consecutive year of a downward spiral on Transparency International's corruption
Only second, you could have fooled.
corruption perceptions index rating. So it rated Nigeria as the second most corrupt country in West Africa. Yay, we're not breaking records to, at least we're after Guinea. Yes, so this is coming against the backdrop of the federal government's avowed fight against graft, because let's face it, part of what made people vote for Buhari was his tough stance, or perceived tough stance
Thank
on
you.
corruption, but seems like we just keep going
We're
down.
all deceived.
Devoe, your thoughts?
Cheta will wake you up after the story. Now, you see, like you said, this is where we carry first. Second after Guinea. If you give the size of Guinea compared to Nigeria, you might as well have put us first because they're not a democracy. Now, secondly, 154 out of 180. We're still down there, dropping from 149. So it's not a good picture. Now, put it in clear perspective. This is actually a perception index. So it's not based on concrete data, etc. and co, but it's Transparency International said globally this index has been accepted. Now, during the presentation, the country representative of Transparency International, Anwar Musa Rasmanjani, did say that he highlighted the issues that this corruption was based on a lot of public sector corruption, that it contributed greatly to underdevelopment, and that aspect I wish we had time to dig deep into it, because the more we come out with figures and numbers, what was stolen, what was missing, what you don't see is the fact that the money that was meant for you and me, the money that was meant to develop social amenities like schools, hospitals, and health, take care of people, pay for employment. This is how it keeps the country down. So for whatever you corruptly get yourself involved with, literally masses are going to suffer. Now, two, he said, rent seeking was thriving in almost every government and public sector process, bureaucratic process. I mean, there's almost nothing these days that Nigerians don't take an advantage of, from driver's license acquisition, passport acquisition, clearing of goods, regulations and licenses, security checkpoints. I mean, I think everybody can continue naming whatever they've attempted to get from government, and at each juncture
From
and point,
each other.
yes,
It's not just government.
somebody
anymore.
is
This thing
asking
now
for
very
one thing
pervasive.
or the other. Pervasive. It's now culture. It's literally you are literally stupid for not abiding by the known culture.
But okay, so what would you say if I said, look at the way that we're trying to automate systems, make sure that more of the processes are going online,
Yes.
so that you don't
When
have to
there's no lines.
interface with as many people as before? What would you say to that?
Well, this is where our own
Wish list.
one thing about the corruption index also shows how smart Nigerians are from the negative, in the sense that even if you digitize it, they will find you somewhere at the junction. Take, for example, passport collection. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's been booked for the next 2 years, but some people are still able to get in at a nice fee. Now, ICPC.
Well, people are saying not recently because of some arrests that were made.
Please.
Wow, Cheta. Okay, please.
ICPC has responded through their media consultants that that's the ICPC that the data TI's data was based on outdated data sources, that even the African Development
Saying that
Bank,
only
yes,
5 out of the 13 data sources are current,
Yes,
and that
yes,
8 out of them. Cheta.
It's a perception index. What's the methodology of that is that they go and ask the people of the country how they feel about corruption. And all of us pretty much feel very bad about it. Starting from, if you are coming into a country, from the moment you get off the plane, in that tunnel from the plane where the ACs are blowing hot air, to the fact that pretty much every person, every functionary, from the people who hooking you for COVID all the way to immigration to customs, always ask, waiting you bring come.
okay,
That is
welcome.
perception.
We've got your messages coming in. So this one, Yemi from Marina says, I disagree with Transparency International's position on the corruption index. My reason is simple. There is no way Nigeria is more corrupt than Burkina Faso and India. God bless Nigeria. Whilst Ace from Ago says, I'm shocked the ICPC disagrees with the corruption index. I thought they should welcome the report, use it as a basis to ask for more funding to do their job. But no, they know it makes rubbish out of the government's claim of winning the war on corruption and their government appointees who defend their masters, says Ace. And Samuel from Lekki says Nigeria is now 154 in the corruption index. So now, how are the supporters of this government able to look past these reports and tell us that the president has done very well? Corruption, economy, security were the areas of campaign. Today, poverty capital of the world, third worst safe country in the world, and of course, corruption. Nawal says Samuel from Lekki. Moving
All right,
on.
let's move to our next story. This one from the Premium Times. It talks about the Attorney General of the Federation has challenged the Nigerian judiciary to be transparent and accountable in the spending of the funds allocated to its annual budgets. I think you're just smiling already. I mean, what do you make of this?
I mean, when your attorney general is telling the judiciary that they should be transparent and accountable, it actually gives Transparency International a lot of, like, if your judiciary is not transparent and accountable, then it means that Transparency International know what they are talking about. But this is a bit rich coming from Malami, because there's something called leadership by example.
Okay.
But
So in August 2020, Malami wrote a letter to Buhari listing assets that he had declared in 2015. The only reason he wrote that letter was because that was shortly after Abba Kyari passed away, and there was a Game of Thrones going on in the villa, and at that point in time, it looked like if his faction was losing.
Okay.
So one of the things that happened was that there was a smear of corruption. You know, one of the things that constantly happens in our government is when there's a rivalry, you start seeing stories of corruption coming out in the newspapers about people about the arrivals, and everybody get everybody fired, that kind of thing. So they will come and give journalists, oh, see what this person did, see what this person did. So I don't remember who. I think it was Sahara Reporters because they have a long running battle with Malami. But suddenly Sahara Reporters was filled with a deluge of assets that Malami had acquired in his time as minister, and they came with receipts.
Okay.
You know, that kind of stuff. So he wrote a letter to Buhari denying it and listing the assets that he had. Crucially, 2020, August 2020, when he was writing that letter, was after 2019. He had been minister for 5 years. He didn't declare his assets in 2019. So the assets that he acquired between 2015 and 2019 were listed, and he hasn't said anything about the asset declaration since then. Now, his position has become much stronger within these governments, and he's not talking about anything. He's just paid lip service to it. So, if you are telling the rest of the judiciary to be transparent and accountable, start with you.
Okay. Leadership by example first.
That kind of thing.
On that note, we have this message in from Dakwa Lawal who says Malami is talking. I laugh. Osin Kabuli says the herders encroached on the lands and they got beheaded. That is not right at all. The most potent way to sort out issues is talking and taking actions agreed upon. How about they arrest the herder, hand them over to the police and follow up on the case? Make it public so that we can all see the authorities on whose side they are. And this also is where the media comes in, says Linka. All right, moving on, we've got this one in from the Vanguard News. Senate tasks heads of security agencies to stem smuggling of petroleum products.
Using
Of
5G
course.
technology.
Maybe using
The
5G
president of the
technology.
Senate said, we're all aware that some of the products, particularly the PMS, is smuggled out, and yet we paid subsidy on what is smuggled out, which is a topic that we discussed at length. What was it, yesterday? Yeah.
That's the way to concept
And
paying subsidy.
and we are going to discuss it later on in the show, that is for sure. But this was speaking yesterday in Abuja when he met with heads of security and paramilitary agencies. Senator Ahmad Lawan asked them to do more to checkmate smuggling of petroleum products out of Nigeria. Devoe, 5G, what do you want to say?
Well, sometimes I really, I don't know. I'm pulled back by the Senate President's position on some items because he has all the information. So when you come out in a cheeky manner and saying that we need to address smuggling as a matter of urgency, NNPC has been crying that they've been bleeding 120 every month for almost the past 2 years, plus more than that, 120 billion. So it's not a matter of urgency. However,
Now, sorry, I would just wanted to ask a question. A lot of people coming out to say one way of addressing this smuggling issue is just to remove fuel subsidy,
yes, we're getting there.
which
We're
is
getting
something that he came out and said, no,
Yes,
we're not there yet. We
We're
can't do
getting
that.
there, but I'm laying the premise that was carried in the article
Okay,
that
yeah.
he had called all the heads of security agencies, hoping that soon that the chairman, that's the NSA, will be there to look at strategies as how to address this. Now, what we know is that, first of all, bringing the security agencies, the best they could do is try and step up border control and surveillance, in which we know that Nigeria is literally a porous country. Well, a basket with holes in it is not as porous as,
Our real border.
yes. Now,
You can have somebody's bedroom
I-
in Niger,
I
and
was
then the
even,
rest of the house in Nigeria.
I was even trying to say that a basket with holes in it is less porous than the Nigerian border. So the truth is,
I know they insult our
with
border.
with even stepped up security and surveillance, it's not possible for us to completely secure our borders. One, remember the last time they locked down our borders for so long and didn't really achieve much. The smuggling tripled. Now, what we know is that smuggling is a economic issue because there's a great incentive by bringing in fuel at 165 and right across the border on any side of the border it sells for between 300 to 400 naira per liter. I remember the last time I was in Cameroon, 1 liter was about 600, say thereabouts, which is about $1 plus. Okay, convert that in the current amount and you see the pricing. Why would you continue selling in Nigeria when you can get a field day, a payday once you just cross the border? So literally, the passion and the drive to smuggle outweighs that of the capacity to be able to keep.
It's a simple
yes,
That's
so
what Devoe is
and
saying.
you were
Devoe is
willing.
Abenovex.
Mhm.
The cheapest petrol outside of Nigeria in in West Africa because our petrol sells for approximately 40 cents per dollar. The cheapest petrol in West Africa is outside Nigeria is in Nigeria, which is about 79 cents per dollar,
Okay.
almost double.
Yes.
It's an economic.
So
I think
this
it's an
comes
economic
back
argument.
to Shopper, what you were saying.
Mhm.
Remove the incentive, carry out the deregulation, so that at the end of the day we can save. Not even save, it won't even happen anymore
The thing is,
because
all
it
this
won't
one
make
that
any
you're
economic
talking- All
sense.
this one you're talking is just left, right, and center. It's a political. It's a question of political will. The political will is simply not there.
Let's move on to our
until the
stories.
whole thing just scatter yakata for ground, we'll continue in this regard. That's what's going to happen.
Okay, so moving on to our stories. This one from WhatsApp says Malami is talking about transparency and accountability. The State Attorney General that couldn't declare his assets in 2019, but declared some because he realized it was not in Buhari's favorite book. You should lead by example. That's from Tosin. And also, Jerry comes in to say, good morning. I disagree with the Transparency International. We're the most corrupt country in the world. The agency responsible for fighting corruption still, with no such impunity. EFCC seized property supposedly acquired through corruption, only to be sold to themselves and their cronies. Corruption in Nigeria is from the top to bottom. Nobody can report your issue to. So God help us. So it talks on and on and on. But real quick, let's jump to our next story. It's about the NURTW, and we talked about this yesterday on Monday, actually. Cheta, I want to read this to you, and I want you to respond to it. So, Lagos State government on Tuesday suspended the NURTW, that's the National Union of Road Transport Workers, the activities at Eni Ayo Church Street, Idumota in Lagos indefinitely. The indefinite suspension became necessary following the violence in those areas. But you said on Monday,
What we said, and thankfully the other culprit is here, is that they will not suspend any RTW in Lagos.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, since you have brought that, the Vanguard story unfortunately was a bit light on detail. So there are two factional leaders in that Idumota area. There's Kunle Poli. We never know their real names. And then there's Mustafa Shego. Is it Shego or Shege or whatever? Mustafa is loyal to MC Oluomo, while Kunle Poli is not. Kunle Poli in recent times has been in the ascendancy. Again, what the Vanguard story failed to mention is that both of them were picked up yesterday and they are currently cooling their heels at the police station in Unico. So this, now that the police has both men, it could be. Have you seen the movie The Departed?
No, I haven't. Let's go on.
It is entirely possible, and this is now me speculating, so I think I need to make that very clear, that both of them will be removed from the scene, and then one of them will be quietly reinserted back. Because a lot of money comes in from there. And who has the capacity to collect that money? You think Lagos will leave that money alone to be going uncollected for indefinitely? It's not going to happen.
Yeah, but what happens to the band though? What happens to the band?
That's what I'm saying. Somebody is going to be released soon, and then they will resume money collecting activities. How much do you earn? Let's bet this ban will be lifted soon.
All right.
Hey, we've got just a few minutes, and we've got some stories that we need to get to. So, moving on, let's take a look at your messages up on youtube.com/smooth91FM Lagos. On the live stream, we have people sending in messages. Baba Femi says Lagos NURTW ban is a parody of the prodigal son. The state government will soon kill a bullock and throw a party to welcome them back. Who doesn't know that they're a key tool for the Lagos government? Moving on. Also says, I really don't remember the last time Mr. Malami was in the news for anything positive. In my opinion, the entire judiciary unit is a mirror of its leader. Whilst Kayode says, banning NURTW in 3 streets in Lagos, that is a joke. Why not ban them in all of Lagos so that they can actually feel the punch? Shaking my head. While Slickon says, any human, referring back to our very first story of the day, any human that decides to behead a fellow human is no longer fit to live with fellow humans. All right, and more of your messages are coming in, but we still have stories from the Punch newspaper. Monetary Policy Committee experts foresee tougher days as CBN retains reduce lending rates. So after its 2-day meeting, the MPC decided to leave the monetary policy rate at 11.5% alongside other parameters. And the governor of the CBN, Godwin Emefiele, brought this to our attention. Devoe, your thoughts?
Okay, let me just try and make this as simple as possible. Remember, for a long time in the life of this administration, the MPC rate was on the high side, which literally made they were trying to pull investment funds into the country. And at some point, because it was at the high side, people complained that banks and co were making investments without really doing the work. Okay, so at some point, to encourage growth, they brought it down a bit. It's been at 11.5 for quite some.
Still high.
Yeah, which is still high, but it's encouraged growth to some extent. And now at this juncture, even though with the high inflation, two positions were looked at. One, to encourage growth, they didn't tighten it further so that people could still have a almost fair average cost of fund. Okay.
Okay.
Secondly, they didn't loosen it further, and if they did, it wouldn't have been able to check inflation. So they believe that they will be on the watch, let's say, for some time to see how this position will help the country. Hopefully, at every MPC meeting they have, usually after every 4 months, we will see whether this position is either working for the country or not.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Our final story comes to you, Cheta. This one talks about not the final story.
Penultimate
the
story.
Yes. So, from the Premium Times, Nigerian government to integrate COVID-19 vaccination childhood immunization campaigns. Okay, so I don't know how people will feel about this because we still have a problem struggling with, vaccinations for, adults. We're talking about campaigns for children.
So it's a capacity issue. We don't have enough health workers. We're bleeding health workers because health workers are leaving the country faster than Usain Bolt. So they need to integrate what
What the visuals of that?
Huh?
I said, the visuals of that.
Well, they need to integrate what they can so that they can at least continue to deliver. I think it's a sensible decision. And in terms of COVID, the fact of the matter is that COVID has reached that stage where it has become pretty endemic. We are slowly phasing out of the pandemic stage of COVID,
Okay.
Globally. So very soon COVID will become like your common cold, where all of us will have it at one point or the other, and
Move on.
You get treated.
Yeah.
Mm,
So
All right.
it's a
Thank you.
sensible decision.
All right, in order for us to just take this story, which we've got about a minute for, so we'll quickly ask for your thoughts and then we'll bring it over to Lagos Talks, all right? So we'll be reading your messages up on that. From Premium Times, Buhari government suspends fuel subsidy removal, saying that Minister of Finance saying that the government has realized the timing of its planned removal of petrol subsidy is problematic. And will worsen the suffering of Nigerians. Let's hear from our analysts.
We're suffering enough already. Don't worry, they didn't care about all the suffering since the election is coming. So everybody knows that if they remove it now, all the voters will go and line up behind the opposition.
And yet somehow it was planned for. So I'm confused.
I thought Nigeria was going to be occupied from Thursday. Looks as if we're repeating. Which year was that?
Why are you being so cynical?
Which year was that?
2012.
Mm-hmm.
All right then. Hey people, we'll be taking your thoughts on this come Lagos Talks, which is at 10 minutes past 8, so in just a bit. But for now, let's read some of your messages. Let me check our YouTube feed first of all. Okay, yeah. So going over to WhatsApp 0809440981. Lincoln says, Austin says about the Kaduna killings, farmers beheaded herdsmen. It's not news, but it's always okay, moving on. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Okay. So this one says Kunle Pole has been having running issues with MC. In fact, at a point, he was rumored to be working with the Ambody back then, and even the PDP. It goes on and on, but we need to move on.
So this NURTW issue is a very big issue. All right, and that is that. Make sure you catch our panelists in just a bit on Lagos Talks. But you can also find them on social media. They are at Chickster and at Devoe Okorie. Go and check them out on social media and make sure you tag them in your conversations with us at Smooth 981 FM. You can replay the feed up on youtube.com/Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Stick with us. We've got music for you, and we've got you having your chance to have your say on Smooth Breakfast.